Welcome back to the Scotti-BYTE channel, and this is Scott. So you might be surprised to learn that my desktop began as Ubuntu 7.04 15 years ago. The boot drive was fat with an MBR boot block on an IDE drive. And I upgraded versions of Ubuntu all the way to the present version of 22.04 LTS. So along the way, I moved from an IDE drive to a SATA drive, from FAT/MBR to a GUID partition table with an EFI boot partition, and from SATA to SATA SSD, and finally to an NVMe drive. So during the course of my career, it shocked me how many people in the IT field had no issues with a wipe and reload philosophy. They thought they had done their job by providing a new and clean OS install and restoring the user files and the essential applications for the end user. I believe that a very significant part of the way that computer users operate is with installed applications, and most importantly, all of the hundreds of customizations and application integrations between apps that users establish over time. I really don't care if my data is restored if I'm missing some significant add-ons, toolbars, application customizations, menu placements, and apps that integrate my data with other apps. All of these things I think are fundamental in the way that I work. If they're changed or they're missing, my productivity takes a hit. The changes that I've made to my Ubuntu configuration over the last 15 years has become a labor of love with a fine degree of granularity. So really, in many ways, the Ubuntu that I run today looks nothing like stock Ubuntu. For example, not only did I replace the Nautilus file manager with the Nemo file manager, but I have Nemo manage my desktop with the Cinnamon desktop manager. And I have several Nemo add-ons that make Nemo highly functional, and all of these changes survive each Ubuntu upgrade. The modifications and changes to GNOME, the toolbar, and window manager preferences are also very complex. My desktop's not really a configuration that can be documented by notes, but it's an ongoing evolution towards the tools that make my life easier to work the way that I work. So in 2007, I moved away from Windows when Windows Vista became responsible for significant data loss, even though my backups could not fully resolve. It would resolve the data files, but not necessarily the configuration. So it was at that time that I moved to Linux, and I really never looked back since then. For Windows users who lack choices in their underlying operating system components, like the taskbar, the window manager, the file manager, the login manager, and many other components, this is really difficult to understand. In the world of Windows, customizations are most often just cosmetic patches and not a selection of different tools. Also in the Windows world, the more applications that you install, the more convoluted that the operating system becomes. The bulkier the registry becomes, and the more DLLs you have loaded into memory, and conflicted applications do make the operating system run more slowly. For that reason, a wipe and reload seems to be the only way. So I have often told people that if Microsoft were our hospital, killing the patient and just awaiting the next birth would be acceptable. Triage and addressing the root cause of an illness would be a lost art. Fortunately, with Linux, I have literally hundreds of apps installed. They don't run unless I run them. They don't load components unless they're running. They don't make my system run slower just because they're installed on the disk. They're present on the disk, and when I need them, I can access them. When I do install a new application, the package manager resolves my dependencies and doesn't create a train wreck that either breaks other applications or makes the system not run properly. Windows users new to Linux often distro hop. The reason is that they're looking for the perfect out-of-the-box solution. There are nice distros out there, but never look at a given distro as being an endpoint. Start with the distro that you want to start with and stick with it. If you don't like something in it, rip it out, tweak it, make it yours. If it lacks something, add it in. Again, a distro I view as an evolution and not as an endpoint. Linux allows changing everything and anything. You are empowered. Fixing problems is easy. Nothing that is broken stays broken for months or years. Solutions are accessible and problems are not chronic. I think that a desktop OS always should evolve with the user as they change their needs and their requirements. In contrast, server instances should be simple configurations that are easy to install. Server instances should be well documented, and it should be possible to rebuild them from notes and backup data. That is why I make a complete image of my desktop OS. It's not truly yours until you void the warranty. Humorous, but true. Anyway, that's it for this time. Please subscribe and like to the channel, and we'll see you next time.